Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pod TV's number one do it yourself show, Timeshare Solution or Surrender. Today is our 65th episode. It is also Memorial Day, as well as a very special day. It is Irene's birthday. I'm not going to say how old she is, but what I will tell you is in this very short period of time that she has spent on Earth, this woman has accomplished a lot and she has a lot of this wisdom to share with us. But I just want to take a moment because it is Memorial Day to just say something special that on this Memorial Day, we gather not just to commemorate, but to remember and honor those who made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation. It is a day to reflect on their courage, their dedication, and the legacy they left behind. As we stand here or work here today, let us pledge to carry forward their spirit of service and patriotism. So I thank you for taking time out of your day today and be with us and to be with Irene. And, Irene has done some wonderful work in helping people. Not every situation is a bad situation. We have a lot of good situations and a lot of good solutions that are going to be coming on today to share with you. Hello, Irene. Happy birthday.
Happy only. I'm almost started the show crying, though. That brought some tears to my eyes. But I'm wearing in honor my Never Leave a Veteran Behind, Bring Them All the Way Home shirt that I purchased at a veterans event in Jacksonville, Florida, when I was manager of Senior versus Crime, a special project of the Florida Attorney General's office. But I'm excited today. I want to introduce our first guest today, Jonathan Stoker with VOA Worldwide. And I've decided that it would be good to dedicate the last Monday of every month. We have two goals at TARTA. One of them is to improve communication between members and developers, owners and developers. We make a difference between members and owners. Where deeded things, you actually own something. And then Jonathan is part of My Resort Co-op, providing services to support those who sign up with the program. I'm one of the early enrollees of My Resort Co-op, and we'll be given a little bit more background of that. Then we have today Lindsay. So Lindsay has the opportunity today to learn that not all timeshare sales agents are deceptive. She's can listen to Jonathan, who formerly did sell timeshares. But Lindsay, every once in a while, you hear something that is just nightmare making. And what Lindsay has gone through, she's going to tell us a little bit about. And then what we're going to do is kind of bring it all together. Let's see where we have. Here he is. We have Taylor. Taylor, thanks for being with us again. Thank you all for being on Memorial Day. In all good conscience, I could not take today off despite it being Memorial Day and my birthday. But what I want to do is start by honoring two, now I probably really will cry. This is Leo Gomez, and Leo called me in October, I think of early October, late September of 2018. And he says, I'm worried about a $25,000 loan. And he said he had Premier Vacation Club points with Diamond Resorts. And I said, well, why did you buy more? He had pancreatic cancer. And he said, they told me I had to because my resort went bankrupt. Well, I have Premier Vacation Club points, and next week I'll be using those points. So that wasn't true. And he told me he had two Purple Hearts. He didn't mention the Bronze Star, which was for heroism in ground combat. And Leo talked to me 8 times the last 30 days of his life, battling his timeshare. I filed a complaint with the Arizona Attorney General, and they did cancel his loan. And I thought, well, thank goodness. And then his wife called hysterical a couple hours before Leo died. Barclays was calling demanding the credit card payment. So they canceled the loan and didn't reverse the credit card for the down payment. But the sweetest man, he sounded like um, the lead character in Milagro Beanfield War, one of my favorite movies, long before I got so involved with timeshare. And it was about the developers taking over, I think, a New Mexico town, and the lead character had a big pet pig, and every night he'd lay a beer and a taco at the foot of the Virgin Mary. Second of all, we have Danny Wolfer. Danny died just February of 2025. He called me because he received a 1099-C. He lost $170,000. He was one of 24 complaints against the same timeshare sales agent, and you can dispute that tax liability. And I just learned from his obituary that he retired from the Brighton. He's in Rochester, New York. So thanks. And I've talked to over 300. I stopped counting after 300 veterans and active duty service members. So I just wanted to take the time to talk about both of those. And it's so hard to have so many active duty service members with their security clearances in jeopardy because of a timeshare sale. So let's move on to the more positive side of timeshare. And so the last Monday of the last 2 months, we have been helping to launch the program My Resort Co-op. And the founder of My Resort Co-op has over 43 years in the timeshare business, Joe Takas. I always pronounce his name wrong. And he's got a PhD in finance. He teaches international finance in Romania. And his daughter is just as smart. And she's now promoting this program. There's a sister program with Interval International. But for all the people like Lindsay that either default and can't use their timeshare anymore or voluntary surrender, but still want to travel, they still like the idea of resorts as opposed to hotel rooms, this eliminates the perpetual contract. So anyone 70 or older, as I am, needs to do their timeshare math. And instead of $30, $50, $100,000 for $1,200, I have 48,000 RCI points to book at least 2 weeks, unless I want to go someplace really special. And just on the last show, we announced that Vacation, I learned, VOA, Vacation Ownership Advisor, I always get advisor, right, is going to be supporting those who signed up for My Resort Co-op. Now, I would like for Lindsay to begin our show with just, I think, 2 or 3 times. But Lindsay, let's start with you, just because I got so upset when I heard this. How did you end up at a timeshare presentation with Blue Green, and what happened? And then we'll have Jonathan jump in and talk about the good side of timeshare.
Yeah, for sure. So how we ended up there is just a couple days after my dad had passed away, we went to a local county fair. We found this tent that had like a wheel to spin, and both my boys love doing that kind of stuff. And I was like, oh, it'll be fun. Let's just talk to them for a minute. So anyway, we get to talking to them. They talk about, hey, like we have a three night, 4 day package that comes along with a free cruise for a family of four for $400. And I'm like, that sounds like way too good to be true. So anyway, we sign up for it. They call us a week later to set up our time to go on to our trip to Myrtle Beach. They tell us that we cannot stay at a Blue Grange resort for that. And then they set us up at a hotel across from the resort. To get a 2-bedroom, which is what was promised to us at the tent, we had to pay an additional almost $400 for the hotel. So the next morning comes after we get down there to the hotel, and we had to go to the presentation. They told us up in front it was a 2-hour presentation to attend, and that they had a kids room. And we're like, that's great. Like, they'll love that. Both my boys are autistic. At the time, they were 1 and just barely 3. And they weren't potty trained yet. So they couldn't go to the kids room because they won't handle diapers. They won't come get you to handle diapers. So they made us sit all together in this presentation with 2 very small autistic toddlers. The original presentation lasted 2.5 hours, almost 3 hours. It did not go well. So they move you to the next room with another sales agent and not just the person trying to market the timeshare. And she launched full scale into a whole nother presentation on it. I think by the time we reached an hour and a half, we're like, look, we haven't eaten. We haven't done anything this morning for ourselves. We've had no water. We've got nothing for the kids. We're dying. And at that point is when she said that she needed to go get her supervisor, who then also started presenting to us when she came. We were so pressured into this. It felt like to get out, you had to say yes because they just kept bringing more people in.
You said your kids had a meltdown?
They did. At about that time when we had asked her, we're like, this is too much. They were having a complete meltdown at that point. And I mean, screaming, crying, throwing themselves on the floor. They had no food because my kids don't eat breakfast first thing in the morning. They had nothing to drink. They had nothing there. Yeah. I mean, she told us so many things that, like, were the only reason that we kind of said okay to it, trying to get out of there. Let's see.
And what you purchased a trial package of 6,000 points for about $17,500, financing 15,000 at 15.99%. So we're gonna stay tuned for chapter 2 of Lindsay's story. And Jonathan, I know you to be a former very honest timeshare salesperson, it must have been painful to listen to that.
Yeah, I've been in this industry for a long time, 25 years. And, the most important thing that you can leave this industry with is your reputation and, making sure that you treat everybody with the same respect that you'd want to be treated with when you're on a presentation. So I would like to, if I could apologize on the behalf of the people that did this. And obviously it's not it's not correct on how it was handled. The marketing gift, as an example, those are, we'll call it like a hooked presentation is the way they call it, meaning hooked means that you're purchasing a opportunity to be able to stay at a resort for a cost. And then there's upgrade fees if you go to a higher suite or so. That should have been disclosed when they were actually mentioning it to you and said, listen, this is your cost. It's a great value. This is exactly where you're going to stay. Because that does happen to where people will purchase a gift like that. We'll call it a marketing presentation. And then they're not staying at the specific resort. They're staying at another resort where the resort has a marketing contract with. And there's reasons behind it of why they do it. It may be because they don't have availability in their own resort, or they want it to feel more exclusive when you come to that resort on a presentation, thinking, wow, I don't want to stay here. I want to stay at this property here. So this is where I'd like to own. So it all depends on the resort, on how that's actually marketed. From how your children are at that point, I mean, if it was myself or that type of situation was being handled on our floor, the most important thing is that the clients are taken care of from the actual, what we call meet and greet, the first time that you meet the client. So if you have young children, you need to make sure that you are addressing them, that you're handling their needs, whatever it is. Like, you're never going to take someone on a presentation and not provide them with food, water, bagels, whatever it might be. Even if you have to go to the store, even if you have to, when I worked in New York, I would literally, if I had to, I would say, listen, take your time, relax. I'll go downstairs to Starbucks. I'll grab you whatever you need. Or why don't we walk downstairs together and we'll just take a walk on the street and we'll go down and get something. Because the number one thing that you're building is a relationship with the client. It's not about the sale. And I think that's what happened here, is that they're more focused on just selling instead of building a relationship. And I think that's what ultimately happened there. It's just, how can we sell? How can we keep moving one person to another person, bringing in another closer, when they should really be addressing your needs? And if it doesn't work for you, and I'll end it on this, is what happens is sometimes when they start at a certain level, we'll say start at a certain, I'm sure they started at a much higher price than 17,000, correct?
Yeah.
Right? With more points and more things like that. And what we see is that as the price goes down, right, and starts to get into a comfort zone, maybe where it's more financially, the difference is the benefits start to change as it goes down, and what you can actually book and what you can actually take advantage of also changes. So what happens is someone who sees 4,000 or 40,000 points, and then it gets down to 5,000 or so, will make that purchase not truly understanding what value they're actually getting from that. Now, does it work well, the program, if used properly? Yes. But the problem is it becomes real confusing. And I understand this. You're there for 2 or 3 hours. You've got your most important people in your life beside you, your kids. You're focusing on them, and then you're trying to figure this out. And what happens is, after the point of sale, and I'm going to take a shot in the dark on this one, the next day that you purchased, any time in the next 10 days, what was the communication level between them reaching out to you to say how you are and to follow up?
Nothing. Absolutely zero. They pretty much avoid you like the plague for about 2 weeks.
Right. And even like, let's just say as an example, when your login credentials came, right, your access, how did you get notified on that?
We didn't actually get any notification other than an email. And we didn't even see that until we had gotten home, which was, 4 days later.
Yeah. So this is no. This is excellent, and I appreciate you sharing this with me, because this is one of the issues that we work with on a consistent basis at VOA, is to help members like yourself. Because what happens is, you get a product, and there's a lot of moving parts to it. I mean, I've been doing this for years, and every day I'm learning. Every day I'm learning something new. So I can imagine yourself, you have a family, you have errands to run every day, and then you come home and it's just an email that's sent to you. You're spending $17,000. You deserve more than an email. That's just the way I feel, right? As a as a professional in the industry. Having someone, and what we do here at VOA is to be able to follow up with you. You can imagine your ownership experience if the next day someone called you, make sure everything's okay. We walk you through, we do a Zoom call like this. We understand the needs that you have as a family. Yours are going to be more special. You have to have certain type of locations where you're traveling, certain type of amenities. And we walk you through that whole process so that when you go to use your points, you don't have to sit and navigate and go through all the website. You could literally contact someone. And that's where the ball is dropped. The ball is dropped on the post sale. And it's also dropped here, in my opinion, after reading your letter, on the sales presentation itself, the way it was done. I don't believe that it was a relationship building presentation. I believe it was more of, let's just sell, and sell, which is what causes these type of after effects afterwards. Because maybe if you understood it, right, which is still, you almost need a PhD to understand timeshare nowadays, right? Maybe it wouldn't have been right for you at that specific time, right? Maybe a year down the road, you might revisit it and come back in, and then you develop a stronger client because you've had time, and they're focusing on closing now, instead of allowing you to understand it. And I feel bad for what you went through, but I can assure you one thing is that anything that we can do, or myself or anybody here at VOA, we're here to help you. And all you have to do is give us a call, and we're here to help out.
And I use the analogy of a real estate agent. I was a stockbroker.
Mm-hmm.
I worked 30 years in sales, not all of it as a stockbroker, but I would know real estate agents and I would know stockbrokers that the commission was right here. If you forget about your commission and keep it way back there, and you just focus on what my family needed, the commissions follow. And I was just wondering, Jonathan, though, what prompted you to leave sales? And are you one of the founders of VOA Advisor, which VOA Advisor was founded November 1, 2020.
That's correct.
And VOA Worldwide was formed in December of 2024.
Correct.
And so I knew nothing about VOA until it was mentioned on the last Monday of our prior show month. And so do you work with, and the other thing, Lindsay, is instead of accepting a promo with my 48,000 points, if I've never owned a timeshare before, I saw that for like 20,000 points, I could stay at some Wyndham timeshare, I could stay at a Blue Green, but they're not controlling me. I can go there and I can evaluate, if you get pulled in about Westgate, there's no other option but Westgate. But to be able to comparison shop is something that's almost never done. But what prompted you, Jonathan? When did you leave timeshare sales, and what prompted you to go into this different type of provider service?
It's a great question, Irene. After working in the industry, and you hear patterns that repeat themselves over a period of time, and I had gone from a sales agent. I worked in Cancun, spent 10 years down there, in Mexico, Puerto Vallarta, and coming back to the U.S. in 2012 with Hilton, New York, and just walking through, I noticed that after doing this for a long time, I've noticed there's a gap. I call it it's a void in the industry, and that void is what happens post sale when a client joins, and you see it on a daily basis. When I would sit down with a client who may have purchased before, they may be an experienced owner, maybe they have upgraded 4 or 5 different times, and you sit and speak with them, and you might share the smallest little detail about their program, and they go, I didn't know that. And it's a really great value, just as an example. And I noticed that clients would tell us, say, we would love to purchase, but we would only like to work with you, or we wish that we had someone that we could work with, because when we purchased, someone promised us that they would call us, that we could call them.
Common, yes.
Here's my phone number. You can always call me. And I'm not saying that there aren't professionals out there in the industry that don't do it and don't follow up. There are a small percentage, I would say, that are extremely professional. And I've worked with those people, and they're great at what they do, and they're very professional. Unfortunately, there's a group out there, there's individuals that will promise those type of things to get sales and then leave the client left out. So as COVID hit, I was looking at things and I said to myself, what if I could create a product in the timeshare market that would be able to help the developer, because the developer has issues with social media, with cancellations, with people not wanting to continue with the product because there's no assistance afterwards. We're not talking about regular customer service where you just answer the phone. We're talking about a proactive engagement, building a brand that the client can truly relate to as an extension of the developer, saying that we're here to help you. We are truly going to manage your entire portfolio, meaning that Irene, as an example, let's just say you have, you're an owner of Marriott as an example. We're not here just to manage your Marriott points. We're going to help you manage your MX points, your Marriott Bonvoy points, your Hilton Honors points. Because no matter what product you own or how much money you spend, you're going to travel some point outside of that network. Right? If you own a timeshare and you own 50,000 points, there's a possibility you're still going to have to fly to Europe. And those clients that are spending that type of money have airline points. They still have to learn how to navigate it. So that's where the idea came up during COVID. And I started to put together the brand of Vacation Ownership Advisor, VOA. And I resigned from Marriott. Respectfully, I love Marriott. I think it's an outstanding product. And I decided to pursue this dream to be able to create something special in the industry that can truly help people. And my ultimate goal, if you ask that, is to be able to fill that disconnect and void with this brand, to be able to work with timeshare owners like Lindsay and many more, and be able to truly help them and understand and give them more value, because we have access to hotel rates and platforms and multiple different things behind the scenes. And once an owner actually truly sees and understands how to use their product, it changes. They go, wow, this actually makes sense. Like when you mentioned a great question. You said, I pay $1,200 a year. I get my $1,200. I get 48,000 points. So immediately when I'm hearing that as a portfolio manager, as someone that we do here at VOA, our goal is to get you 3 to 4 times X that valuation. And that's the things that we specialize in. Because if you're paying a maintenance fee, you want to get value for it, right? Because you have to recuperate your cost. And there's a lot of moving parts that goes into it. But that's how I founded the company. And over the last 5 years, we've been blessed to win a few different awards in the timeshare industry. We actually, we got this one this year. This is the best consumer product of the timeshare industry. We were blessed to get that this year and last year at the GNX conference. I have their T-shirt. An incredible.
Are your services paid for by, like my resort co-op?
Mm-hmm.
My fee includes your services, correct?
That's correct. The way we do it is we partner with the developer or the club, and that first year is included with us. After the first year, if someone wants to stay with us, that depending on the resort and the complexity of the way things are set up, will range between $399 to $249 for the annual due going forward. And you have a team of individuals. We have team members that are in Puerto Vallarta. We have team members that are in the Middle East. We also have a call center in Belize as well, which we use. And those people are there for you throughout the year to help you navigate this entire product on behalf of My Resort Co-op. We're not taking their place. Our job is to make sure that you have a great experience with My Resort Co-op.
What is the fee for the subsequent year?
It ranges between $249 to $399, depending on the resort and the complexity of what's really going on a yearly basis.
Yeah. And we have a question here from Jack Donovan. His first question was, has anyone proposed ethics training for timeshare sales? In Florida, you have to have a real estate license and continuing education is part of that, but with some sales agents that go out the window. And his second question posted here is, what would you change or recommend to change in the industry to eliminate the common deception? Let me answer that first. We are lobbying, and Jonathan, this is wonderful to have you here if you think this would be fair. If you see an ad in a magazine or on television, it usually says that it is a solicitation. The oral representation clause, we feel, should be disclosed at or prior to the presentation, not buried in 80 pages of electronic fine print. So you get an appointment card or an email confirmation. All they would have to do is put at the bottom, do not rely on oral representations to make your purchase. How would you feel about that?
If you don't mind, first I would like to address Jack's question
Sure.
there.
Yeah,
And then
I just
I'll come back.
jumped in.
Both questions are amazing, and I want to make sure my mind is focused the right way. But what would you change or recommend in the industry to eliminate the common deceptive acts by agents? I will tell you that those issues need to be handled directly by corporate themselves and the sales manager. And it's a reflection of the sales manager or the director of sales that's on the floor. And as a former director of sales, I can tell you that I've worked at the biggest brands, Marriott. I'm the director of sales. That floor is your responsibility. And if there are any type of deceptive acts, or like we'll call it misrepresentation, or someone who's what we say really walking a gray line, they're not saying something that's not truthful. They're walking that gray line. They will be warned, and they will be let go. If there's someone who does any type of deception like that, lies to a client, they're terminated immediately. I can tell you that working at Marriott, I will tell you that it doesn't fly, so to speak. I'll say that's one thing about the product now. The responsibility lies on the director of sales and the management there. And if they know that something is being said and they don't clear it up, I believe that in my heart, I believe those people should be terminated. I don't believe that they should be representing a product with such a great brand name, such as Marriott, Hilton, Wyndham, or any of those products. And unfortunately, there are sales representatives out there that misrepresent the way the product can be used. This is a fact. We know this. Those agents should be terminated. They should never be allowed to work in the timeshare industry ever again. And the story that I read your your profile, Lindsay, the one you wrote, and I've heard that situation a lot. And it was very disappointing to read that, because I've heard that type of sales pitch, from people that would say that. And it's not right. And I feel bad that you got caught up in that. That's why I would do anything I can to help you from our standpoint. As in, Terry, you can Google VOA worldwide. You can also, if you'd like to email our team, you can email us at concierge@voaworldwide.com. That's our direct concierge email where you can reach out to us. We're there for you. If you're looking to answer your question, Irene, about the marketing gimmicks, we'll call them. When you see something online, you see, as an example, you can go to Hawaii for $199 for 7 nights, 8 days. That is a timeshare presentation. If you see $399, 4 nights, 3 days, that is a timeshare presentation. 100%, that is a hook tour. It's just it's a marketing. What they'll do is it's the rule of 3, right? Where you can't put up the dates, the location, and the actual resort on a marketing, right? You can put up Hawaii destination, $399, and that's legal, because you're not locking yourself into dates, or vice versa, right? You can't use all 3 together. So what you'll see marketing companies put up Orlando, Florida, $199 3 nights, 4 days. And then you're going to end up getting a hold of a marketing company, which is separate than the resort, right? The resort is not part of that. Some resorts have their own marketing company, but usually they're hired outsourced. And then once you come in at $199, which is what happened with Lindsay, is that then they turned around and said, well, if you want a 2-bedroom, you have to upgrade, right? And that should have been disclosed at the point when you bought that. But that is what's the upgrade, and that's where those companies then make their extra money, the marketing cost at that point. That's just to give you the behind the scenes of how it works. And then they have a slot of inventory that they're given from the developer to be able to assign it to. So it's not like it's $399 and you're going to get Christmas, right? Is it possible? Anything's possible. But you're going to have selected dates that you can choose because it is a marketing gift, and they're giving away certain slots of inventory. And it may not be at that specific resort.
How would you feel, though, if when she received the email confirming the trip, or at check-in, you're given a little appointment card to disclose at the bottom, do not rely on oral representations to make your purchase?
Absolutely. No, I agree with you. I think it should be in every timeshare contract. And we actually, we had it in our agreement too as well, to where because sometimes things are said, right? And I've, being in the industry, I love this industry. I really do. It offers great value, but there's certain people out there that misrepresent it the wrong way, and it gives a bad reputation to everybody that's trying to do a good thing to really help people. And it should say something like that. Absolutely. That, anything that the salesperson is saying verbally is irrelevant, right? It has to be inside the contract. If a salesperson is telling you, you could rent your points out and you could get this amount of money, well, show me this in the contract and put it in black and white, right? Or whatever that specific situation.
The problem with that is with Vacation Village, Westgate, and Wyndham, they do say that you can rent, but they don't disclose the obstacles of renting. So, but the other thing that we want to lobby for is, because like one person, this was Club Exploria, they have 7 people in their family, and they were only sold, they said you could stay a whole week with the family with the points you're buying. So when they weren't allowed to log into the booking site until after the contract rescission period, you're showed a book of all these great resorts, but they don't have supply and demand with it. So then when they finally got access, they were lucky to get 2 nights for a family. And we have volunteers that know the Wyndham program, the Vacation Village program. So we reach out and then, there's no way. So the other thing we thought is that the contract rescission period, to be fair, should begin the day the purchaser has access to the booking site.
I agree with you. I don't have a problem with that. It promotes full transparency. There are instances where we're aware of where people will give their login credentials. What you're saying is a valid point. People will be provided the login credentials after the cancellation period. I mean, I'm sure that Lindsay got her login credentials after a 5-day. It's possible. I don't know if they were done same day. Some people do it the same day. Some companies will give their login credentials immediately. You activate it and you're in, which is great. It's full transparency. And if you're selling the right way, you should have nothing to hide from. And if you're providing the client with exactly what they need, you're not selling from a point of commission, you're selling from a point of trying to help the client. And there's certain times where you'll sit on a table, and I've done this many times. We're starting here, we're going down, and you get to a certain point and you just let the client know, this is something you can purchase, but it's not going to accomplish X, Y, and Z that you're looking for. It'll only do this. And I would suggest that we wait. And you have to be professional enough because selling someone a product just to get a sale it's not ethical. It doesn't make sense, because you're going to see that client again. They're going to come back. They're going to post on social media. right? They're a member, they're an owner. You could run into them at the airport somewhere, right? This is your reputation that you're building for the rest of your life through the industry. It's a career. So sometimes telling the people, just listen, at this specific time, you're a family of 4 or 5. You need to have a 2-bedroom unit. This type of points is only going to get you a studio unit. And the only way you could get a 2-bedroom is this, and this is how we would do it. And just being honest with them. And I think that's where the ball is dropped. And then, like you said, afterwards, I don't think it's a bad idea at all. If your cancellation, some of them have a 30-day cancellation period. They're just saying you can cancel.
It's usually the state mandated.
Correct.
Yeah.
State mandated. And there's also companies that I work with that we've dealt with some members that have wanted to cancel 3 months in. And I've worked with some developers that own travel clubs that, when they look at the situation, we go through everything. There might have been something that happened in the family or something. They let them out. And I think we've had many board meetings at the GNext conference, which I highly recommend for any individuals that are in the industry to attend. And one of the subjects that they bring up is, exiting timeshare, to be able to help people like Lindsay and other people how to be able to get out of this contract in a
responsible,
in a seamless, responsible way. Right? We're here to help you. If we're going to make it this easy for you to buy it, we should make it fairly the same way for you to get out of it. Right? That's my opinion on it. It shouldn't be, having to go to legal courts. If you can buy $1 million home and you can put it on the market and sell it, why can't we take a $20,000 vacation product that's supposed to bring joy and happiness to our life and find out a way for us to be able to get out of that product that may not be right for us, because the developer is going to take that inventory, they're going to resell it again, and it's going to move, right?
My next question is, are you available every Monday from 1 to 2 o'clock?
I'm available. My schedule is I work 14, 15 hours a day, so I'm always.
I will tell you this. My experience was so bad, I would never consider timeshare. And in fact, somebody was trying to get me into it last week, and I got a little bit rude. But you kind of changed my opinion of it, mainly because you're talking ethically. And I just, wish I had met someone like you. But, one of the things I don't think maybe you're not aware of is, like in my situation, the contract would not allow you to even use any access for 90 days. And I know now, I didn't understand what I was signing then, because I was intoxicated and mourning the loss of my husband.
Sorry.
But what I know now is that after 90 days, you can't take back your credit card charges that you use and things like that. So I know that that's intentionally done for that reason. But they have a 90-day, you can't use, that was Hilton. I'll be honest and say, I'm sure not all of them are like that, but they have a clause that says this, good or bad, it just doesn't help any rescission period. So
what type, if you don't mind, so we can, because for Hilton, which product were you purchasing? Was it
I had, honestly, what I ended up purchasing, I had no idea. But what I ended up with when I finally could read the contract and everything was, which I thought was just RCI points, which sounded cool to me, and an app that they put on my phone that said I got discounts all over the world. But what I ended up with was a piece of property in Vegas, which there I was in Chicago. I ended up with some piece of property in Vegas for 1 week. I didn't even know how many bedrooms or anything.
Well, you have to back up, Kim.
I mean, that's the difference between buying intoxicated and not, probably.
They did points.
But, Jonathan, the agent said, you stay at Palm Air for $200 a night. With our friends and family app, you could stay for $50. That was Hilton's employee app that he actually put on her phone. He put on
my phone and told me this comes with your package if you buy now. And on top of 250,000 points, which never came to me. I mean, all of these things, right? And that's what I was
250,000.
most interested in because I like to travel. But it was the app because the app was like, and he showed me
What's the
everywhere.
app's
Like
name? What's the app's name?
the app was the friends and family app of Hilton, and I had no idea.
He
Well, and
gave
the
you the
day after
friends.
she sent her report in, they
He gave you the.
dismantled the app on her
That's
phone.
how they closed me.
So
Oh my
she had a
God.
smoking gun. Yeah. Now, Lindsay, I don't
So
want
it
to
was, yeah,
shortchange
but what
you.
I'm saying is that they have this 90-day, you can't use anything clause in the contract or
I would
book
like to.
anything. You can't book anything for
I
90
would like to
days.
see. I would like to see that because I know, like when I work at Hilton, we deal with that. That wasn't the case. I would like to look at that and see that. I'm not saying it's not, but I'd like to look at it because I've sold Hilton and worked with Hilton owners a lot and haven't had that specific one, but I'll help you with it if it is something with
No,
that.
it's gone. Irene helped me. That's why I'm here. But I was just curious because you have all of these ethics that no one had in my situation.
Yeah,
And but I think what like stunned me the most was, it was not, and I don't mind sharing anything with you, but
we're
the
here.
the idea is that I think that 90-day clauses, or when they tell you, oh, you can't use it for 90 days,
I've
that
never
doesn't give
heard that.
you,
I've
yeah, that
actually
does,
never heard that in my 20 some years of doing this. I've never heard that from I've heard people say you can't use it for a week or two, but it's not true, right? It's as soon as it's activated, you have the right to be able to use it. So it could be something completely false. I would love to look at that. And I also, to address your other thing on the credit card part of it, is that people will and have, they've charged their credit card back 6 months, 7 months down the road, a year down the
right,
road. Um, that process, I don't, we could get into, it's a whole nother story on how that works. There has to be something in, false representation. We do see a lot to where people charge their credit card back just because they realize that they're past the cancellation clause and they're just like, well, I'm just going to charge my credit card back. And there's really no legal reason to say that they should do that. And it's what happens is for the company, it becomes very damaging because it goes against your merchant account. And if it's not a legitimate chargeback, like if it's
right,
legitimate, the client should have been let out anyway, right? You should let them out, right? But if it's a legitimate chargeback, or as an illegitimate chargeback, it gets damaging reputation. And we see this in the industry a lot, believe it or not. It goes both ways, where clients will slander and bash the company online and write negative things, and it's really not the company's fault,
right,
right? And so we see both angles of it, and we deal with it a lot because I have to write full reports of, we use AI technology. I go through the whole entire year transcripts of all the engagement that we had with the client, and the client will tell us we never saved any money, right? And then we show that you just took a vacation and you got $800 difference with what the cost would be, and more things. So while we understand it goes both ways, I wish there was a way to be more transparent with everything. But but we'll say that, Irene, this is probably one of the best things that I've had the opportunity to be a part of. And
Oh,
to be here, like for you to do this and to be able to speak with, people like yourselves that are extremely knowledgeable. Lindsay, who, we're going to do everything we can here at VOA to be able to help you. You want to take a vacation, we're here. My Resort Co-op, they're just wonderful people. Sydney's amazing. Joe, incredible. I know these people personally. I've been at conferences with them. I have a relationship with them. They're good people. And, I have the shirt on, the G-Nex. I bring it up a lot is because the people that attend this conference and go there, and when I first got into, we'll call the entrepreneur side of the industry, I was looking, where do you go to find guidance? Where do you find how to find respectable people in the industry? And I can tell you that this conference has truly changed my business. It's changed everything because the people that are there, these business leaders that are there, are great. And they're truly trying to do everything that you are promoting to make sure that owners have great experiences. So I commend you for what you're doing, Irene. It's truly, it's wonderful.
It's more stressful than being a stockbroker. I turn into a worrywart every Monday morning. I'm like your mother.
We can jump on and talk about any topic that you want. And
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Lindsay again, because Lindsay, ironically, what he was talking about being personal consigliere, on November 11, 2023, you went to an orientation, which usually they want you to attend before you even used your points, because I'm told from former sales agents that are with Hilton that went through training that you want to sell them between about 25,000 on the first purchase, and then attend an orientation and purchase a second time. And your sales agent at the orientation at Harbor Lights at Myrtle Beach said that he would be your personal owner relations coordinator, right? Okay, then what happened from there? Because Terry was saying, what happened to Lindsay is horrible. Yes, go ahead.
Oh gosh. Yeah, so we showed up, he introduced himself, took us back to the room, and honest to gosh, we told him, what we bought and why we bought it, and he just straight laughed in our face. And was just like, that's not even possible. Like, why would you do this? So he started talking about how you're not even allowed, like, you physically can't book a 2-bedroom with under 10,000 points, which we found out is a complete lie. There's, as long as
Because we have our volunteer that understands the blue-green product, right? And we put you on the phone with her, and she actually looked up places you could stay with 6,000 points.
yeah, I was floored by some of them. I mean, peak resorts during peak season, you can still go. You just have to change when you go. But they don't tell you that. Goodness, yeah.
So that was another 9,000 points for 19,000. And then you also mentioned that he said you could, again, an omission, you can charge purchases on a credit card to pay for your maintenance fees.
Yeah, that's what he said, and we quickly realized that it does not much at all. Like maybe a couple hundred of your maintenance fees, not anything significant. Like he was saying, he was like, "Oh yeah, your whole year of maintenance fees, it won't even bother you because you don't have to pay for this."
yeah,
But I mean, I think the real big issue that we took with it was when he was talking about the Hilton merger or a takeover of, I don't know the right word, of Blue Green. But what he was saying was you have to get into a tier in order to be grandfathered into the Hilton program. And that is like the entire reason that we went for it, is we're like, we do want that. We put a lot of money into this and we want to be a part of the Hilton program. But we found out like a year after that he completely lied about it. We weren't grandfathered into anything. And that we would have to.
So to back up, when you purchased in 2023, I don't know that they had acquired Blue Green yet. They might not have. I know they acquired Diamond in 2021, but
it was in talks. They were just in rumors and talks at that point.
right. But did they tell you at that first upgrade that you would be part of Hilton?
Yeah, no, that was the entire reason. He said, when this happens, you will be grandfathered into it at the bronze tier, like the base bottom whatever tier, and you would be included in Hilton. And that was just not the case.
Was
Yeah.
the They said, you told me that they actually laughed at you and said that now I know why I was put with you guys. You're newbies. If you do not evolve, you will lose your entire investment. That's a pretty strong statement.
Well, it is, especially for a young family who just put 32,000 into it. Um, yeah, that was.
Yeah, that's not true, right? I mean, that's obviously we know that, right? It's they're utilizing a fear of loss, to try to be able to sell someone, and it's completely unethical.
We're Taylor's been coming and going, so while we have you here, Taylor, let's hear from you. Any updates with My Resort Co-op? And this is pretty exciting. This is the first time you've met face to face with Jonathan, and you're both working for the same product.
Absolutely. Apologies there for the technical difficulties. I think hopefully it's sorted out here. But in the grand scheme of things, a lot of these issues that we're talking about are precisely what we're looking to solve for through My Resort Co-op, right? We strongly believe in the value proposition of timeshare for the consumer, and the value in timeshare needs to be delivered in a more transparent and accessible manner. And that's precisely what we're doing with My Resort Co-op. We're eliminating the, permanent liability of, the maintenance fee reality through the 3-year program. We're giving direct access to the RCI exchange network, with a preset allocation of points annually with the ability to buy more if you need. The idea is, I think the idea behind the club and what Joe was really trying to do was figure out a way to deliver, the best possible outcomes for the consumer in timeshare, and doing that through the exchange companies. And that's what he's been able to do through his clubs, both My Resort Co-op, which is the RCI affiliated club, and My MVP Club, which is the Interval International Club.
Well, and thank you for that, Taylor. And is there anything advancements in tokenization? And in 2 minutes or less, can you explain what tokenization is?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give you a quick teaser. I think next month we're going to have my partner Andre come on, who is the actual tech mastermind behind Volca and what we're doing with tokenization. But the 30,000-foot view is we are trying to change how these assets are owned from a pen and paper model to a digital model. And in doing so, we're going to drive a lot of efficiencies and cost savings for the consumer. We believe strongly that tokenizing timeshare assets will ultimately deliver better products and better outcomes for the consumers. And we have some really exciting updates for you that Andre will be talking about next month.
Well, that's great. And I want to give a commercial and a shout out to Mike Kennedy of Koala. I mentioned that Jonathan knows very well, and also Sweet Vacations with Shep Altshuler at Timesharing Today. These are all, I was under the impression all travel clubs are dishonest because you have these road shows. If you buy into our travel club, we'll get you out of your timeshare. And what happens is you end up with the travel club and the timeshare. So, Lindsay, do you have any closing comments about hearing something actually positive about timeshare for once?
I mean, it's exciting to hear somebody acknowledge the issues in the industry. I'll say that much. I'll be watching Irene and listening to what she says as she uses it. That's for sure. I don't know if Kimberly feels the same, but having such a negative experience with timeshare, it puts you kind of in a defensive mode when you hear anybody talk about timeshare. So I'll be watching from the sidelines, cheering everybody on and hoping it goes well.
Right. It's something I've learned with Irene. It's about people helping people. And when you start uniting like we did today, we learn a lot, right? We gain a lot of information we might be able to use moving forward. But it's also having each other's backs, right?
Well, as we value added. the
Right.
value added from having both sides. You always
Both
talk about value
sides.
for consideration.
I
This
I
I
got
feel,
goosebumps. I mean,
yeah,
and you know, Irene, y'all, you have moved me to cry on this show. But to get good vibes is very rare because we hear so much negative. So I want to thank Jonathan and Tyler for coming on, or Taylor and coming on and being part of all of this. And you know, Mike Kennedy has also. But there are solutions, and everyone, we want you to tune in to us every week at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Scan that code on TikTok if you have it, and text us your live questions. Also, don't forget, you can register to be on the show too. Contact Irene. You can find her on Facebook or at tarda.org. I'll also next week give Jonathan's contact information and post it live so that you too can get some solutions and learn how to better use your timeshares. And everyone, we're out of time. So take care and have a blessed Memorial Day. We know that this is a day of thanks and honoring those who have sacrificed their lives for us. And I just want everyone to know it's Irene's birthday too. So everyone,
send money to
yeah,
Tarda.
happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Irene.
Thank you so much for everything you've not only done for all of us, but all of the veterans who are out there that struggle as well. Take care, everyone. We'll see you next week. Stay healthy so you stay wealthy.